All right, boys and girls, we got another mock draft Monday. Excited to get into it. This night's theme is going to be Chris Olave gets traded to the New York Jets, and we're going to do a mock draft. It's going to be myself and Tigo. We're going to have the poll chat. We're going to do a poll question in the chat so we determine what the value of that's going to be for the trade. We're going to go into some of the, more recent signings and whatnot of the New York Jets. And then we'll get into the mock draft and kind of give you guys our breakdown on everything. But before I do, I just want to thank the sponsor of the channel, Turtle Beach. Remember the feeling of booting up your favorite game for the first time, the late night sessions, the epic wins, the sound of lobby filling up with friends. Gaming wasn't just something you did, it was a whole experience. The right headset made all the difference. Turtle Beach is bringing that feeling back with the Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset. It's like stepping into the golden age of gaming all over again. Only this time the audio is richer, the surround sound is more immersive, the battery lasts an insane 80 hours, no more cracking mics, no more missed callouts, just pure uninterrupted gaming exactly the way you remember it, but better. For a limited time, get 10% off your entire order with code JETSTALK at turtlebeach.com. Don't miss out, stay warm, and level up your game with 10% off at turtlebeach.com using promo code JETSTALK. Boys and girls, these things are friggin' sweet for gaming. You'll see on the little audio, on the little video thing over here, they give you 2 USB dongles that let you plug into your PlayStation, your Xbox, and you can even hook it up Bluetooth. So I've had it hooked up to my phone while I'm talking to my friends via game chat. We're playing Call of Duty, and I'm listening to a little bit of music on the phone. They can't hear it. It's coming through all nice and crispy, and it's got this little mic. Wha-bam! Flips out the side. I have really liked it. This thing is friggin' sweet. Honestly, being able to connect to 2 devices at once for someone that has Xbox and PlayStation, boom, blew my mind. Was absolutely incredible. So if you guys want to help support the channel, help support the sponsors of the channel, head to turtlebeach.com. Use code JETSTALK for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code JETSTALK. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show. Tell them I sent you. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. Boys and girls, got to get into a little mock draft action and whatnot. Mr. Tigo, welcome.
What's up?
Doing things, talking about sports and football and Jets and things like that. How was your week?
Can't complain if I'm being honest. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I was having a good time.
See? There you go. Now, there was some stuff that happened, not necessarily Jets related, but could impact the Jets in a pretty big way. T. Higgins and Ja'Marr Chase get paid big old dollars. T. Higgins, I think it was $29 million. You got Ja'Marr Chase getting $40 million. Obviously, Garrett Wilson's on the block trying to get paid. And then you got Sauce looking over at Derek Stingley Jr. getting a cool 3 years, $90 million. That's $30 million a year. I think it was like $87 million fully guaranteed too. It was like a silly amount. I don't know why they just didn't do the extra $3 million at that point. But that goes on top of the 4-year, $100 million deal that we just saw J.C. Horn sign. So Stingley got a $5 million per year bump to sign as the new highest paid corner. What do you think, Tigo? Think the Jets are falling down the, I don't know. Do you think we're waiting too long to sign our guys? Prices just keep going up.
It's and I don't necessarily blame Moogs or Glenn on this. I think this is more of a Woody thing. And it's just because I think like owners are hesitant to pay players, and that's the whole thing. Especially when you're talking about massive amounts of guaranteed money, which both of these guys are going to get. And the longer you wait, the more you end up losing. Like, we could have very easily gotten these deals done before any of this stuff happened. The J.C. Horn deal comes into play. We very easily could have signed Sauce. The moment the new league year started, they were eligible for an extension. You could have had it done the very next day. Because what was the new? It was May. Was it the 1st?
It was,
I'm sorry,
it was the
March
first day
1st?
of free agency, right? Like it's that Wednesday is officially the start of the league.
So what was that? So yeah. So like, but again, like if it was like, okay, Wednesday free agency starts at like, let's say, I think it was like noon or whatever.
Yeah.
These deals should have been announced at 1:00, both of them. And again, I don't think it's actually Moogs' fault. I don't think it's Glenn's fault. I think this is something that like Woody is sitting here is like, oh, I don't know. Do I really want to play? And now it's just like any work that Moogs had done with Garrett Wilson and Sauce out the window, because the new asking price is, well, T. Higgins got 28. Now I want 28. And Sauce is like, I didn't miss anywhere near as much time as DSJ did. I have been very, very, very much available, and I have 2 All-Pros to his 1. So my price, he got 30. Cool. I want 32.
Look, I think they're justifying that. Honestly, if the Jets came out tomorrow and said, we're giving both Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner 4 years, $120 million, obviously Sauce would get the extra year added on for Stingley if you want to give him more guaranteed money, similar contract, whatever it is. I think definitely Sauce has the leg up in negotiations because of those 2 All-Pros and because that market was just reset. I think with Garrett, it's probably a little bit tougher depending on where he's coming from. Like if I still think he's worth 4 year, $120 million, which would be the $30 million a year. If he's like, I want 35 to 40 million, just like, Ja'Marr Chase got, be like, all right, well, looks like we're going to be waiting a little bit of time to sign this deal at this point in time. And like, yeah, who knows? He might be worth that if he goes absolutely off. And, Joe Burrow is a little bit of a different quarterback than what the Jets have had the last few years. But I think the Jets are kind of hurting themselves. I mean, maybe they're playing the card of like, hey, we want to make sure our guys are the top paid at their position right now. And by letting Stingley get his contract, we know Sauce is going to get a little bit more. And that's the way you sort of play it off, right? Or we're going to drag our feet.
It seems there's been a lot of like little things in a lot of the it seems like we're headed down a Micah Parsons-esque like road with these 2 guys, because there's been a lot of little things in like articles that we've been reading recently, which makes it seem like they're not interested in extending either guy right now. Like that this is a conversation that they're going to have next year. And like my thing is that's just not a good idea. Like, because I think you're right. We did have that report of Garrett Wilson coming out and saying he wanted 30. So maybe the T. Higgins deal helps there, because like you can go up to Garrett Wilson and be like, what justifiably puts you above T. Higgins? Right? Like that's the argument that you say there. You're not in the Ja'Marr Chase and you're not in the Justin Jefferson tier like bracket. They're they're one of ones. They're 2 of 2s. They live in their own separate world. In the same way that TJ Watt and what's his name just got paid by the Browns, like Myles Garrett, like they're one of ones. They live in their own tier outside of everybody else. You're not in that tier, so you're in the Higgins tier, which is like right below it. Still an elite wide receiver. But so how can you justifiably ask for more? Like they've been to a Super Bowl, they've done these things, and we haven't done any of that with you. And so like maybe that argument is better there, but there is nothing that you can say to Sauce. Sauce has been the better wide receiver in the 3 of DSJ and him. He's been the better wide receiver over those 3 years. Corner. So the price just went up. What did I say?
Corner. It's wide receiver.
I did say wide receiver. Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean.
It's because we got that conversation going both ways. Boys and girls, I did just add a poll question in the chat. We're going to do a mock draft. Tonight's theme between this show with myself and Tigo. Then you got the me and Domsey talking Jets show at 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Then the 10 o'clock mock over on Green Bean's channel. The theme is going to be Chris Olave is traded to the New York Jets. How does that impact our trade? How does that impact our mock draft? How does it impact the rest of the league? What do we think he's worth? I do have a poll question in the chat you guys can vote on. How much is Chris Olave worth in a trade? A first, a second, a third, or a fourth? You guys can vote on that. We're going to do this poll question through each of the shows just to see where people fall on his value. And then we're going to swap out that pick for the receiver. Now, if you want to say it's going to be a different receiver that the Jets trade for, or if you want to even think about it as like, hey, the Jets are using that third or fourth or whatever round pick on a wide receiver, you could think of it that way. And that's just sort of how we, maneuver around the draft and whatnot. As far as free agents go, Tigo, the last, I would say, week or so, we've obviously added Justin Fields. We talked about that last week. You got cornerback Brandon Stevens, safety Andre Cisco, center Josh Myers, tackle Uyuma Okafor, tight end Stone Smart, D tackles Byron Cowart and Jay Tufele. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Rashad Weaver, D-end, Tyler Johnson, wide receiver, Chris Boyd, cornerback, punter Austin McNamara, and fullback Andrew Beck. The Jets did retain Jamian Sherwood, Isaiah Oliver, Tony Adams, Irv Charles, Kene Nguanu, the kick returner, Xavier Newman, and Jamin Davis. Jets lost DJ Reed, Devontae Adams, Hassan Reddick, Javon Kinlaw, Morgan Moses, Solomon Thomas, Brandon Eccles, Ashton Davis, Wes Schweitzer, and Kenny Yeboah. R.I.P. Green Bean. We were all very sad to see the Yeboah guy leave. What are your thoughts on the Jets free agent? I don't want to call it a haul, but the Jets free agency to this point in time while we let the chat kind of vote on this poll question here.
Yeah, it's kind of whatever. It's like whatever to disappointing. Like it's in that like weird like limbo range because there are some players that you look at it and you go, that could be a guy. Like that's a swing. I like that. Like Andre Cisco, the defensive tackle whose last name I don't know how to pronounce. You know what I mean? Like the punt returner that we brought back, also don't know how to pronounce his name. Like there are some guys there where you look at it and you go, that's a high upside swing. And if we keep the punt returner, that means Xavier Gibson can't return punts anymore. That's a positive, and like we want that. But then there's also like some negatives, which is like Brandon Stevens got that much money. Like Okorafor is not really like he's just coming to like revive his career, right? Like that's the plan. Like he's not actually a part of the offensive line plan, right? He played 12 snaps, got benched, and then quit. And so like there's a lot of like, hey, that makes sense. And then there's a lot of like, what are we doing here? The wide receiver, like that's a great swing. I like that swing. I forget his name, but like, dude, that's some upside from Tampa Bay. Like that's maybe he turns into something. Like I like swings like that, but it's just this weird bag of like, I don't know. Like I think Weaver, like why do we get like we had to sign him so urgently, like we couldn't just be like, hey, hold off so we don't lose a comp pick kind of a thing. Because like there's a deadline for that. Like who else is pounding the table for Rashad Weaver? Like there's so many of these like weird little signings where you're just like, all right, I guess.
I think the comp pick deadline that you're referring to, I believe that's after the draft. So I think the Jets probably want to pencil in enough players before they get to that point. I could be wrong. Green Bean, I see you in the chat. Maybe you can correct me on when that deadline is. I mean, I'll admit that the free agency period, especially coming from the last few years, feels a little like, that's it. But at the same time, if you ask me going into free agency how I want this Jets team to operate, I don't want to go after, high-priced free agents and overspend on guys that I don't think are overly talented. I like the Justin Fields signing. I like some of these, mid-tier guys. You mentioned the Brandon Stevens contract. I think the way I sort of justify that in my head is looking at the rest of the contracts that are being doled out across the league in general. Not so much the cornerback and safety market. That might have me a little bit slanted for the tier of player that I feel like they might be coming in here. But overall, this is kind of what I sort of expected. No big names. Yeah. Just kind of let the coaching staff come in, draft some guys, evaluate the roster. Then in 2026, you start really making some moves once you have an idea of the foundation. Because if you start signing a bunch of guys now, which is also kind of going back to the Sauce and Garrett standpoint, I think us having a new coaching staff in here and a new GM is going against the thought of them getting a deal done this year. I think it's more likely, like you mentioned, after the season or maybe mid-season when the price is already going up even higher, which is, kind of irritating because you got two guys that are studs for us, homegrown players that, are probably correct and justified in wanting a contract. So I'm not really sure how to grapple with that. I think it's just a weird timing thing. Obviously, I wasn't going to say to hold on to Robert Saleh or Ulbrich or anything just for the sake of getting a contract done. But free agency wise, I'm looking towards the draft. for
No, yeah,
stuff,
and I think to be fair, I think what you said is perfect. It's like this staff is very clearly in just fill the holes on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
They're not taking big swings, and that's not a bad thing. It's that's what they're doing. It's just we're in full evaluation mode. We're not. I think it's very clear that the at least the front office looks at it and goes this isn't a Super Bowl winning team. We're gonna take year one as a mulligan, try to win as many games as possible to see what we have, and once we know what we have, we move on from there. Because this class, we talk about it all the time with this draft class, is it's not top heavy. You're not going to find your superstars, and you're going to find your depth pieces. You're going to find your role players. That's what this draft class is all about. And so it kind of matches up perfectly with what this free agency class is, which is kind of doo-doo cake. So you're not trying to find all your starters. And two, what this draft class is, which is also kind of doo-doo cake. So you're not trying to find all these starters. It makes a ton of sense the way that they're approaching it, in terms of money spent. And I know we all wanted Justin Reed, but did we really think that this team was going to take a big swing on a safety? Probably not. Cisco makes a ton of sense, and that's the whole thing. So.
Yeah, and another point that I do want to drive home is how many times do you change or sign a free agent that comes in and they did really well on their team that they're coming from because they're from a system, they were there for a few years, they matured in that system, they come to a new system and they're terrible. They're absolutely, not the player they were. I think the Jets are operating an entire 53-man roster in that way by bringing in a new coaching staff, a new GM and everything. So you're switching everything up on the players that are already here. Figure out who fits what you're trying to do moving forward and build everything from there. So I think we're both in agreement that this is probably the correct way to go, even if some of the names may not be the flashy names that we've been used to the last few years here. Blitzkrieg comes in. He says, think the rumors are true. We were bidding against the Cowboys for Stevens. No Jedrick yet. Milk thumbs. That's right, boys and girls. Hit those milk thumbs.
Milk thumbs.
Thanks so much, Blitzkrieg. You are incredibly wonderful. And yeah, look, if it's true that the Jets were bidding against the Cowboys for Stevens, that would elevate the price. Now, the Jets also bid against the Steelers, and it turns out the Jets kind of spent a little bit more than the Steelers were looking to pay Fields. So I don't know if that's, I guess good or bad. I probably would have been fine with Eccles coming back, to be perfectly honest. I didn't think corner was a dire need in free agency, which probably makes this feel a little bit worse. Why Jedrick Wills is still sitting out there, I think it's purely because I don't think he's a very attractive free agent for a lot of teams. For me, it's the replacement for a Carter Warren or a Max Mitchell that could potentially have the upside swing of being your future right tackle if things go the right way. Now, I'll be honest, if you wanted to convince me on Membu at number 7 or in a trade down in some capacity, I would still go after that, even with Jedrick Wills here. So I don't know,
I think
how much it impacts.
I get what you're saying with the whole Jedrick Wills thing, but the way that I look at it is if you're if you're not bringing in Wills to be the let's say okay, you're the starting right tackle, that's the plan. At that point, just keep Carter Warren and Max Mitchell and see what you've got in them.
Sure.
Because they're you've got them under control. They're young. They're cheap.
The pedigree's
they've been here.
Though. Jedrick Wills is the former Alabama right tackle, first round pick. Having the pedigree of someone that's a top 10 pick is different than someone like Carter Warren and Max Mitchell. Obviously they all three of them have been in the league a number of years at this point. So there's game tape on them. There's, development that has or has not happened. But I like having the pedigree of a former first round pick as opposed to being like, I can keep this cheaper guy here just because he's cheaper.
I think they play the same role, and at that point, like we've all seen guys go in the first round that have no business being in the first round,
Sure.
like Daniel Jones and who was the edge rusher that the Tampa Bay Bucks re-signed this year, Troyan, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Tryon
Joe
Schroyinka
Tryon.
or something along
Yeah.
those lines. Who is that? Is it Walker Little? Am I like the guy that the Raiders took in the first round? Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Obviously, like, it's very well known. I'm a big fan of like Max Mitchell and Carter Warren, and I'd love to see them get a shot. And that's like my thing is like, if you're going to bring, like, because how much is Wills going to cost you?
I can't imagine it's going to cost a whole heck of a lot. I really don't, because he's
It'll
been
be
injured
more
the
than
last
what the
2
league
years.
min that the other two guys are on.
Yeah, but that's all right though, because like I'm fine with moving off of either one of probably Max Mitchell more so than Carter Warren at this point, just because he's got the extra year of eligibility on that rookie deal. But I can't imagine Wills is going to cost a whole crazy ton. If it's going to get into like some sort of bidding war, I would say absolutely not. But what did Mekhi Becton get from the Eagles this past year? Like $6 million, I think was the number. Like I would take a swing on Wills for like that amount of money. Why not? Especially if he could wind up being like the dude. The concern is if you spend that much money and then you still go out in the first round and go after the tackle, which.
But that's my thing. Like you were just saying, like you literally just said that you were like,
I know.
Jedrick Wills doesn't stop you from taking the guy in the first round. So like my thing is like,
he doesn't.
save
But
that
I
$6
think
million.
it would give you more comfort to go after like Ozzie Trapillo in the third round. Like you're like, okay, I already got a guy. I can forego this first round tackle. Where like if you don't go into the draft with like a tackle and you're going in with Carter Warren and Max Mitchell, like Membu's probably higher on your list at 7 than like thinking of a different position and tackling right tackle at a later point in the draft.
Maybe we're all just downplaying and they actually think Okorafor's an option. Because that might be that might be what the Okorafor move is, and we're all just sitting here in denial.
Maybe. It's impossible to know what this team is going to do.
Yeah.
Boys and girls, we have our answer. It looks like Chris Olave is getting traded to the Jets for a third round pick. Third round pick. So let's see. Oh, Green Bean said he didn't know what the deadline was for the compensation picks.
Ask you a question. Regardless of what the chat is saying here, do you think Olave would actually go for a third?
I would say second or third. I mean, his first round pick, I think he's really good. It depends how much the injuries are, what he's looking for a contract. They exercise, or they have to decide on his 5th year option post draft. I'm pretty sure, right? Like that May 1st or something.
I think it's like right
that.
after the draft.
Yeah,
It's like the draft happens, and then it's like chop. You keeping this guy for the 5th year? Or what?
yeah. I don't know. I'd probably have to go back and see just how injured he's been.
It's 5 concussions in 4 years.
That's a lot, man. You think it goes? Do you think he even goes for a third round pick at that point if it's that many concussions? Like I feel like there's got to be some concern you're out of.
I was
the league.
asking because I genuinely wanted your opinion because like I was looking into this today and I was like trying to read articles and it's just like, dude, I saw everywhere from he goes for a third round pick to the Broncos should trade for Chris Olave and it might cost them 20. And I'm sitting here, I was like, and I'm just like, so the answer has to be somewhere in the middle here, right?
Third feels right to me based on the
Third,
injury
I
history.
agree. I think third feels right because like so many injuries and he's going to want a massive contract. Like that makes sense. But like, and it wasn't just like, that's the most recent one I can think of. But like I saw multiple places that weren't New Orleans like publications saying that it might cost a 1 to get Chris Olave. And I went, it didn't cost a 1 to get DK.
Yeah, I would take DK 10 times over that.
I agree. So I was genuinely asking because I wanted your opinion on it. Because I was so after reading like so many articles today, I was like, I don't know what player worth anymore. In what world is Olave worth a 1?
He's probably a conditional 2026 pick. That's probably what it is. It's probably not a pick in this year's draft that you'd be giving up.
It's like a third that turns into a second, like if he plays like 17 games kind of a thing.
I mean, you could even you can even convince me on a fourth. Like if he gets injured, like you're giving up no more than a fourth. You know, if he just plays in, call it 75% of the games, it becomes a third. And then like if he balls out, then it's a second round pick or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
I think you could probably structure it in such a way.
That makes a ton of sense.
Let's start going through this mock draft a little bit. We'll set everything towards the middle. We're going to enter the draft. We got to make the trade of, let's see, Saints. We're taking Olave, and we're giving up 73. This trade will not be accepted. I'm just curious what, like, so they think it's a second. If I do a third and a third, it gets close. Third and a second, it definitely gets done. Third and a fourth. We're going to force it. We're going to force a third round pick because that's the way we're rolling.
I find it really hard for them to ask for anything more when it's 5 concussions in 4 years, and like 2 of them were last year.
I got to redo this because I didn't click. I clicked start draft instead of force trade. Where do we go? Mock draft simulator. I was doing my taxes last night. Stuff sucks. Hate it. Takes forever.
Yeah, no, it's...
All right.
Especially if you got to feel like you want to do it right and get all of the things that you want to do.
I mean, I think I did it right. I hope I did it right. I don't want anyone knocking on my door. What the hell?
3 years behind. You got time.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna do Olave. We're gonna do this pick. We're gonna force this trade to happen. All right. Now we are going to mock this. Abdul Carter goes 1, Travis Hunter 2, Mason Graham 3, Armand Membu, tackle, flying up the board to number 4. Tyler Warren go 5 to the Jaguars. Ted McMillan going to the Raiders. I mean, I think at this point I'm going Cam Ward because he fell to us. Like, is there another player that I'm just totally whiffing on here?
Oh my God, Cam Ward is available at 7?
Yeah.
You take the trade.
Let's see what trade. Let's see what we got.
No, honestly, who's the team that's coming up for the quarterback?
So we've got...
Because you get multiple ones at this point.
I mean, it doesn't look great. So the 3 teams that are looking to come up, it's Dallas, it's the Dolphins, and then it's the Rams. So you're falling back to 26 if you're making that trade. Like, that's crazy far. And I don't think Dallas is coming up for a quarterback. Man.
Dude, honestly, if the Rams are willing to
Rams?
give next year's 1 and this year's 2, like you get 26 a 2, next year's 1 and next year's 2, like that's what it's going to cost. You're coming up for the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, look, the Rams are going to... Okay, well, let's just see. What does it show us what they would offer?
Especially because, like, we just traded for Olave. So like, the need for wide receivers isn't all that desperate.
We're getting 3 1s. We're going to call it number 7. Oh, they say this trade will not be accepted. Better if you're coming up from 26.
Yeah, I don't think it gets 3 1s.
You think it's 26, next year's 1, 2 2s? 2 1s, 2 2s?
90's a 3.
90's a 3. That's right. Math is hard. I mean, I would still take it. I don't know. I'm honest. I would take.
You take Cam Ward?
I think I would. I mean, if he fell that far,
I think the trade would just be so valuable at this point.
You probably. Well, I agree. I do agree. I think it would just be so wild to like have this quarterback fall to your lap when like there were rumors of the Jets possibly trading up to 1 to get this guy.
Yeah, but those are. I will honestly at this point, like I will cede the pick, this pick here specifically to you. I look at it as like you did just pay Justin Fields $30 million.
I agree. That's where the
and I think that was like totally the plan is so that you're not in this position.
Chat is
and
saying
if you're telling me that you can go into 2026 the quarterback draft with 2 1s. Like, that's a hard thing to pass up, especially since we did just trade for Olave. Like, all of the offseason moves were to build up the Ohio State Jets.
Yes. So let's give this a little redo because that's not how I see that going anyway.
I don't see Cam falling that far.
No,
Shador
that's silly
totally.
season.
I don't think Shador goes in the top 15, but
I
Cam
can
falling
see
that
it.
far?
Yeah, I think he's going 1. I really do. But all right, let's try this again. Force the trade. Let's see what happens. All right, so there we go. Cam Ward's off the board. Abdul Carter, Travis
That makes more
Hunter,
sense.
Cam Ward, McMillan, Mason Graham, Jeanty. That I can see this draft happening.
Yeah,
I could
me too.
totally see this draft happening. Now, I'm torn between 2 players.
Who are your 2 guys?
Torn between Membu and Tyler Warren. Those are the 2 guys that I would want. Is there someone else on your mind?
Honestly, no. I think it's between those 2 guys.
Let's do a poll question while we discuss. Just so,
Absolutely. I know I lean Membu because of we know the things that Justin Fields struggles with, and the things that he struggles with is pressure. That's the real thing. He can't handle pressure all that well, and we want to make sure that the run game is exceptional. In my opinion, right? And in my mind, the gap between a guy like Armand Membu and the guy that you would get in the 3rd round or in the 2nd round, well, we don't have a 3rd round pick anymore, so it would have to be in the 2nd round. The gap between Membu, who's legitimately a right tackle, it's exactly what you need, to the guy that you would get in the 2nd is much greater than the gap between Tyler Warren and the tight end you would get in the 2nd. Because you can get Colson Loveland in the 2nd, possibly. And so the way that I look at it is just because that gap is much greater, I would take Membu. But Tyler Warren does also give you a blocking positive and a pass catching positive. And so it's a weird balance of I would go the offensive line and just be let's just do what Detroit did, which is they had the second best offensive line in all of football, and they ran the ball a ton to protect Jared Goff from himself. Let's protect Justin Fields from himself, because Justin Fields with nothing but time, he'll find the open guy, and Garrett will get open eventually. You know what I mean? And so that's the way I look at it.
So I agree with you. I do think that the tackle would be where I'd lean here because of the depth of the tight end class. Now, I think if you go Tyler Warren, you're kind of re-emphasizing this wildcat RPO style offense, and you're really putting a lot of weight, I think, into Justin Fields. I think with Membu, you could still put the weight into Justin Fields the same way by adding another tight end or 2 potentially later on in the draft. And I like the idea of if Fields doesn't work out, we've got our O-line set. That to me is the value. You have left tackle, right tackle locked down for the next 4 years at the very least. With
you got the whole O-line locked down for the next long time, legitimately speaking. Because if one of these guys that we're talking about, in just passing, can fill in the right guard spot eventually, because the line of succession is my mind is when Simpson leaves, AVT takes his spot at left guard again, and then you find a mid-round guy to fill in that right guard spot. It doesn't matter who your quarterback is; they're gonna get better with good O-line play. It doesn't matter. They're going to get good with good O-line play. We've seen that. We've seen quarterbacks look really bad behind bad offensive lines, and really bad quarterbacks look really good behind good offensive lines. A good offensive line is one of the best things that you can do to help your quarterback. And whether it's Justin Fields, whether it's Arch Manning in 2026, we have 2 pass catchers now in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Really good pass catchers, and a pass catcher that he's familiar with in Jeremy Ruckert in the tight end room. Membu is, I think, the final piece in my mind.
I'm seeing some comments in the chat. They're saying
they've been complaining about the clickbait.
I was I put mock draft. We know it's mock draft Monday. I totally get that. That was not an intentional clickbait. But I'm glad you're here.
God, Ward is so good.
I'm glad you're hanging out with us. Look, I'm thinking Membu. We don't need the wide receiver because we got Olave and we got Garrett. And then I think we're probably looking tight end in the second round then, even if it's going to be a little bit of a higher end, pick. So I'm going to roll with Membu. I think that's the correct selection.
And like I think you can double dip tight end in this class.
Down. You could consider trading down.
I think with Membu here, I think you kind of got to take him.
Yeah. So the Cowboys are looking to come up to 12, from 12. But I think I'm going to sit and pick. We're going to go Membu. That's the selection. I think it's the right move to make. Jets on the clock. Xavier Watts goes off just in front of us.
Where did Loveland go?
Loveland 29 to the Commanders. So let's roll to tight end, because tight end I do feel like is the biggest one. Arroyo winds up being the top guy on the board.
Well, I would not be mad at this, man.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. If we end up Membu Arroyo, like, that's a really, really good, like, set of picks. And just for edification's sake, right? Let's pull the green bean on this, since this is all spawning from his mind, right? Who are the offensive tackles that are on the board?
He did reach out to me. Oh, you're let's see. Offensive tackles on the board.
You know what I mean? Because you see, like, what if we did go Warren here, right? And
if you
this is
Membu,
what I was talking about.
Yeah, most of these guys are like back end of the second, top end of the third type players that I'm looking
And
at.
the gap between those guys is much bigger.
It's huge.
Like, the gap between Arroyo to Warren, while still, like, there's a reason Warren is going to be a top 20 pick, right?
Yep.
But like, Arroyo's a top of the second round guy.
And I don't feel
that's
there's
why
a
I was saying
safety here. I think tight end's the way to go. Like, am I missing a position?
No, because I think you're looking for, with your first picks, you want
Linebacker?
starters, right? So what other starter are we missing, technically?
It's not linebacker right now, at least.
It's not
Tight
linebacker.
end.
It's not corner. It's not safety. It's not interior defensive line on first and second downs,
All right. I
right?
think that's the move, right?
So then it goes tight end.
Shador's here. I'm not taking a quarterback. It's not happening.
No.
All right.
Because like we
Let's
have our early down interior edge rusher, and then you have a guy like Leonard Taylor who can be your pass rushing. I think right now it's between tight end and interior defensive lineman, like in my mind, because like you still need another guy. But I would get the interior defensive lineman in the fourth and the tight end now, even though I really like a lot of these tight ends. But that's just how I would look at it.
Yeah.
Look at
not
the
having
interior
a third
defensive
round
lineman.
pick kind of third round is kind of where I was hoping to get our tight end, because there are so many good names that I think you could get one of them to fall. So we got Arroyo, Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson, Harold Fannin Jr., Gunnar Helm, all on the board.
Who are the interior defensive linemen, just to see?
Tyleik Williams,
Didn't we meet with him?
Ohio State. Did we?
Yeah.
We might have. I haven't been keeping up on that.
Tyleik Williams is kind of enticing, if I'm
He
being
is.
honest. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you.
All right. So let's play this out then. If we were to go Tyleik Williams, I'm okay with that, because I do like.
Yeah.
I like
Because the
Harold
gap
Fannin
between
Jr.
Arroyo to whoever it is in the fourth
Yeah.
is not going to be as big as Tyleik
I-
Williams to whoever it is you're going to get in the fourth.
I mean, I could gamble that. I see the chat's really gunning for D tackle. It looks like.
It's a good thing. I think that's. Once I saw Tyleik's name, I was like, oof. We
All
met
right.
with him.
Ohio State.
We are the
just kinda
Ohio
adds to
State Jets.
I think it's a sign. That's where we're going. We're going Tyleik.
No, Charlie, we do not have 72. We traded 72 for Chris Olave in this mock draft.
Oh,
And Gunnar Helm's right there. Like, that's like perfect.
well, that's the pick. Harold Fannin Jr. went pick 100 to the 49ers.
I love
what I
Harold Fannin, but he's not a scheme fit for the Jets.
I think right now it's a little tougher.
And
I'm
I
cool with
hate
Helm.
it because, like,
I'm down with Helm.
because I really like Fannin. I think Fannin has like, I love Fannin and everything that he does, and I hate that he's not a scheme fit because I want to take Fannin. But sign me up for Gunnar Helm.
I'm down. Boom. Done.
Sign me up.
So remember, Jets get their starting right tackle, their D tackle inside next to Quinnen. You got a starting tight end, and we've already traded for Chris Olave with our third. So now we got 4 picks left, one of which needs to be a kicker. So we got 3 picks that we're playing with here. What
Okay.
position groups we feeling? Safety, I think, needs to be in the conversation.
Totally. I think you have to look at linebacker.
Linebacker, I
I think
agree.
you have to look at safety. I also
linebacker,
think you have to
safety,
look at edge.
edge.
I would also sneakily say, I know we only have 3 picks, so you got to
Kobe
prioritize
King's
which one of
there.
these guys. I love me some Kobe King. I would wait on Kobe King though. But I'm gonna get yelled at a little bit for this, but like, do you not look back at tight end? Because technically we only have Ruckert,
Let's see.
and like
who
this
else
is a good
still-
tight end class. Do you
Mitchell
not
Evans.
go back? Cause that's what I was thinking. Was Mitchell Evans? Do you not possibly like double dip at tight end here?
I would look for Jackson Hawes late with that run blocking grade. I'm cool with waiting a little
Luke
bit.
Lackey
longer on
late,
tight end.
possibly.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
even saying
I'm-
like it has to
I'm-
go
I'm
right
good
now.
on
I'm just
waiting
talking
on
about
tight
like
end.
the next 3 picks. These
Yeah,
are
yeah.
the positions that we're probably looking at, right? It's like edge. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Let's see. I see you. I'm just getting you onto the screen. You're right there. I'm just trying to see if the rest of the chat is here.
It
They
still has you
froze.
going live.
So, let's see. Connecting to stream. Fixed. Wow,
We're back.
I can't believe that worked. Yo, everything just went boom. Like my whole screen went off, like totally gone. So we've got an interesting, I guess, dilemma here based on how this played out, because we've got to restart the draft. For some reason, that was the only thing that did not go. So
Dang, it was looking good too, though.
we were looking all right. All right, well, let's do a little crazy fast action here and try to get back to it. We'll see if we could do our picks the best we can to have the same outcome. We'll try to do that. So we're going to force the trade with Olave, and we're going to start. On the clock, Membu is there. He is the pick regardless of who else is gone, but that actually looks all right. I see Cam Ward didn't go, but we're just gonna ride it out the same way we did this past time. God damn it. Damn it. I got flustered. And I did a 1 round.
Hit the 7.
I know. I hit the 7. All right. See, now we're going quick. I have no idea what happened. I don't know why my computer shut down. It just said, your computer hates you. So it's gone. All right. Try this again. All right. So we're going Membu, because that was our pick last time. Tyreek Williams goes 1 pick in front of us. So we're in a...
Of course.
Let's see. I think we stick with D tackle. Want to go Alfred Collins or Shamar Turner?
Sure.
Let's go Collins.
Kind of want to restart and see if we get Tyreek again, but
I know. It's ridiculous. All right. Now let's see tight end. Who's still here? Gunnar Helm. See, look. We're back in action. Look, this is
Boom.
pretty decent. All right. Let me see if I could find our super chats too while we were going through this. I apologize if I'm missing some. Jimmy Jets, thank you so much for joining the economy tier, brother. You're the man. And Crossfire says the New York Jets and Buckeyes. Yeah, I'd say that looks about where we're headed. Especially if this Olave trade happens. I love how 66% of the chat wanted Warren, and we were just like, not happening. All right. Now we are in the 4th round. We have made our selections. Tackle, D-tackle, tight end. What were you considering here when we got so rudely interrupted by my internet?
Like I was saying, it's just like at this point you're looking at, because like I think it's hard to imagine that you're going to find a starter in round 5 and round 6. Like, and we've addressed a lot of the starting positions of the New York Jets right now. And so like my thing is like, what positions do we only have guys on 1-year deals left?
So I did
So, like,
interior O-line. I did
Yep.
edge rusher, safety,
Yep.
and linebacker.
And those are all the like spots that I was thinking of too, which is just like, where are the spots where it's like we don't necessarily need them this year, we need them next year.
Mhm. I
And
agree. And I feel like Penn State just breeds linebackers. So Kobe King's like on my radar for one of these next two picks.
yeah, I really like 𝐿𝐵 in this situation. It's such a risk
Yeah,
to
I'm
like
playing a
wait
little
for
bit of the
162
like
with
look
him.
ahead game and see who could be there at our next pick.
Yeah.
Monheim's been a pretty popular selection for you and I.
Yeah. Like I would go 𝐿𝐵 in this situation. I really like Penn State linebackers. I like his
Yeah.
size. I like what he
tons
provides.
of games played too. 13 games,
Yeah.
13 games, 16 games. Like, it's hard to not like that.
And I think the other thing too is like he would see the field this year. Remember, we're only going to run nickel about 70% of the time, assuming that trends maintain themselves in the NFL and, you know, Glenn and Wilkes continue to do what they did before, which is run nickel about 70% of the time. So like he will still see the field, and he's massive, isn't he? The screen is blurry, so I can't see all the numbers. But like, I believe he's like 6 foot 240, right?
Yeah, almost 250, 248.
Jesus, like he's such a big, like he's so, you know what I mean? A big boy. He's just gonna fill up space and eat runs on early downs if you really wanted to play like out of your base 4-3.
So I see the missed tackle rate is a concern in the chat, 11.8%.
Yeah, that's and I get it, and like, and that's one of the reasons why he's here in the 5th round. But that's a coaching issue. Like you can fix that. That's just coaching, right?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I feel like you've been playing football your whole life. You should be able to tackle at this point. I don't think anyone's teaching you how to tackle.
No, but I think that like
a focus
it's a
issue?
want thing. You got to want to tackle. It's like blocking for tight end. You got to want to block. Like that's why when you're like looking at a lot of
does
these,
that
like,
not scream maybe he doesn't want to tackle? Is that like part of that?
no, because like I think a really good example is like Jordan Whitehead, because he didn't have a tackling problem in Tampa, and then he came to the Jets and had a tackling problem. That's coaching, because our whole team had tackling issues. So it's just like, so if the whole team has tackling problems and the guy who was at a different team didn't have a tackling problem, I think that's right. I don't think Jordan Whitehead had a tackling problem in Tampa. Somebody looked that up. Like, and then it was like the whole team has tackling issues on the Jets. So to me, it screams that that's a coaching thing. And I've always heard like tackling is just coaching. It's a 5th round pick. Like I'm not looking for a starter in this situation. Like you could convince me like Luke Kandra here to take the high upswing guard just because AVT has had an injury every year in the last 4 years. And so like you try to take like
mention like John Simpson's only on a 1-year deal. Like I like the idea of going into your O-line.
Yeah. And we go someone that's not Monheim just for the craps and giggles.
I think we should. And then let's see
again,
if
this
King
is
makes
another
it to
one of
us
those
in the
picks
next
that makes
pick,
sense.
we'll go King on the next pick. So we'll go Kandra now. Kobe King's still there. Oh, I'm blowing the cord. I'm not going quarterback. Not going quarterback. All right, let's go Kobe King here. We got 2 more picks, one of which will be our kicker. Which
Take the kicker now.
Yeah, I'm a big kicker now kind of guy.
Especially because this is right when they start going.
Yeah,
it's right here
100%.
at the beginning of the 6th. In like real drafts, not mock drafts.
So now we're sitting here. You could probably use a safety. I mean, you're just looking for high upside guys at this point. So it's kind of like a BPA situation. All the top 4 picks are quarterbacks. Tyler Show, Curtis Rourke, Brady Cook, Max Brosmer. I mean, I would roll the dice on Show this late.
Yeah.
We need a backup. Like I really don't think Jordan Travis is going to be on this team.
I know, I agree with you. And again, you can't rely on Tyrod Taylor. I'm not anti it. Like if this is the way that you would want to go in the 6th here, especially because like what's the value of like who you're gonna get here in the 6th? Like you're not going running back because like this would be perfect, like prime running back territory, right here in the 6th round. Like you're not going running back here, and we already have like 3 6th and 7th round corners on the team right now. Like, I don't necessarily want to add another one. And like, I don't like the safeties at this point in the draft. And we did just take Kandra. So it's like, I'm not sitting here and looking at like Majors or someone like that.
Show's kind of the name that keeps coming back to me. Just because, like...
For my edification, see if Luke Lackey's still on the board.
Let's see. Yep.
Oh, I would take that pick. That would be my pick. I know people might not want to double dip on tight end. I'm not even advocating for it. I'm a big Luke Lackey guy.
I understand it. It's
tight ends out of Iowa.
Hard not
as many
to,
times as you can.
Hard not to like it. Look, I'm falling back into the I still think we need a backup quarterback in some capacity. If you want to take a swing on someone different than Justin Fields, or is there? I mean, I honestly don't know the other 3 quarterbacks. Like,
I think Brady Cook was at the Senior Bowl and like didn't do well. I don't know much about Curtis Rourke. I know Tyler Shaw is just like
everyone's been loving him.
The thing with him is like he's the most polished probably guy in this draft class, but he's also 26, so he is what he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to develop more.
Show is one of the oldest prospects in the class and has an extensive injury history, but his size and arm talent are adequate enough to earn him shot as an NFL backup. That little blurb is enough for me to be like, I'd roll the dice on someone else.
Again, like, I'm not mad at it. Because you could do a bunch of different things here.
You really could.
Like I tend to go SEC kid. Who's the SEC kid? Like that would be my thing.
Brady Cook would be like the SEC kid for the top here.
Like, if we're taking the quarterback, take Shao, because like he's a name that we know. But like outside of that, it's just like pick a position, pick a kid who went to an SEC school, see what happens.
Yeah, you go on RJ Mickens late in the draft. Let's go Shao. You know,
RJ Mickens. Didn't we meet with RJ Mickens?
We did. And he's like, family basically.
Yeah. Why not? Again, I have no idea. At this point, I haven't gotten.
I feel like we always get an F when we do this.
Well, it's the 6th round. You're gonna get an F no matter what.
We're switching it up. We're gonna go Show. Final pick.
Love it.
Changing it up. Let's see what
Travis is gonna sue the
us.
Jets in like 6 months.
Do they hate us? No, B+.
A+. Look at that.
I got a B+ overall. Look at that. That's definitely the best. They don't like our kicker pick, but that's a dumb grade for
they're
for getting
dumb.
your starting kicker.
Is it Shuck? Sorry, Adam.
Is it Shuck?
Is that how you pronounce it?
It's pronounced Shuck. That's a dumb name.
I don't see the CH in there, but like or the CK in there, but all right. English is just
That's all right. It's his name. He can pronounce it how he wants. Crazy. I did not know that.
I liked our first iteration better.
Now, remember, Alfred Collins should have been Tyleik Williams. My computer crapped out, and Alfred Collins should be Tyleik Williams. But overall...
Because that's an A, right, with Tyleik Williams? That B turns into an A?
Yeah, I would think so. And then we're probably looking at an A- draft, realistically, based on this.
I think we're still probably at a B+. I think this is a good draft. I'm not mad at it.
I'd be okay. Admittedly, I do want... I don't really want to go D-tackle so early. Like, I'd love the situation where Loveland falls to 42, or like
that's my dream scenario.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of what we do at 1, like unless it's Tyler Warren, and I don't necessarily think that's where the Jets are going to go. My dream scenario is Loveland making it to 42. I don't think it happens. I think he does end up going in the 1st, but I am a really, really big Colston Loveland fan. Like to the point to where like when we were doing that first thing where we were saying like the Rams are coming up for Cam Ward and they were like thinking of doing that trade, I was like, dude, because Colston Loveland at 26, right into my veins. Just
I like the idea of trading down for sure. I think Membu just for me is like, I think I'm leaning him or Warren, assuming Tet's off the board. Real quick before I jump over to the show with Dom, Tet ran a 4.48 at his pro day today. What are your thoughts? It's obviously unofficial. It's what scouts had him at. Probably somewhere between 4.5 and 4.6 realistically. But what were your thoughts?
I didn't change. I love Tet.
Yeah.
If we were still in the pre-Justin Fields as our quarterback world, I would have been pounding the table for Tet at 7.
Well,
Like,
if
I
we didn't
wouldn't
trade
let
for
you make a
Olave,
pick
would
that's...
would Tet be your pick at 7?
Yeah, I think Tet is... I think, one, because Tet is... I think Olave is one stiff breeze away from another concussion.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big fan of the Olave trade,
Neither am
period. Right? 5 concussions in 4 years is terrifying. And I love Tet, but like, this is a post Justin Fields world. And so like my whole thing has shifted from like pass catchers aren't the priority, blocking is the priority. Everything to get the blocking up to a like top tier NFL level as much as possible. So I love Tet, and I didn't care that he didn't run. I thought it was a smart move on his part. Like, you control the narrative, and like everybody knows that running in Indy is slow. Like, you run slow at Indy. That's why they still do the pro days. That's why a lot of these guys still run at their pro days, is because they're faster at their pro days. And so I didn't think it never affected my opinion on Tet. I loved Tet before he ran. He didn't run. After he ran, the only thing that's changed my opinion on Tet is that now I don't necessarily see the Jets going that direction because blocking has become a bigger priority than pass catching.
Fair enough. All right. Tigo, before I head over to the show with Dom, any last words for our audience?
Go have some fun. Go see what craziness we can do in a trade for Chris Olave with Dom C. I'm excited to see that.
I love it. Boys and girls, I'm going to push you over to the Talkin' Jets channel. Myself and Dom will be live in just a moment. Be right back.